As a rideshare driver, whether driving for Uber or Lyft, it is important that we all understand picking up passengers that have hate in their heart always has existed and it always will. And when you're dealing with strangers all day long, sometimes you may find yourself in a situation before you ever knew it existed. What up, folks? Once again, it is indeed your boy Tim with another ride sharing video. Now, I make it clear, as I've said in numerous other videos, that I follow content from other creators and I'm often on other social media platforms and blogs discussing ride share. Now, this comes from a comment I saw on a Facebook forum on ride sharing. If a rider pronouns pop up on the app, I will cancel the ride immediately. First question is simple. Why the hell would the pronouns of a rider be on an app in ride sharing? As a driver picking up a passenger, why the hell do you really need to know what their sexual orientation is? So it does baffle me in the age of LGBT equality why this is even a concern. If I were to put my name as a passenger on the app for being a rider, you can call me Tim. I don't give a damn if you call me Mr., Sir, God, Daddy. Daddy sounds good. I don't care. So why pronouns are popping up does leave one baffled. Nevertheless, this comments sparked a hell of a lot of responses, and you would probably suspect many of them are going to go as we state. Our pronouns pop up for them too. Now, I didn't realize this, that as a driver, you can put pronouns in and the passengers can see this shit. I strongly advise really labeling yourself in any way, fashion, or form. The more passengers know about you, the more you expose yourself for possible hatred. As a minority, I can't hide my skin color, but that does affect folks. If I started speaking in an accent that indicated I was an immigrant fresh from Africa, it would probably lead to more hate. So the more you expose yourself, the more you put yourself as a target for folks that don't like individuals like you. Pronouns is something you don't have to do. So here is what I did not know existed, but here's a screenshot of a driver using he, him. Why is that there? In my humble opinion, there's no need. I would rather select nothing be there other than my name. Because when you put he/him, this is clearly a straight guy sounds like, but the way it is written makes it look pronoun-like. So this could spark the ire of some haters. Now, we all have an option of whether to get in the car or take trips or not. Like in this case, the passenger is saying, or better yet, the driver is saying, I'm not going to pick up passengers with pronouns. Fine. If you want to miss out on money, that's your choice. But I do believe you put yourself at a disadvantage on both sides by putting pronouns in the app as a passenger or as a driver to begin with. But instantly, fortunately, other drivers in the forum responded in kind how they actually should, at least if you ask yours truly. Must have missed that video about discrimination, said one driver, and that's true. Now, as a driver, you shouldn't be discriminating against passengers. Now, I do understand, and I often promote some discrimination if you believe your safety depends on it. Fact is, a hell of a lot of black males in major metropolitan urban areas like Chicago, New Orleans, Baltimore have been victimizing drivers, up to and including loss of life. So in some cases, your life may depend on choosing not to pick up certain people. That's one thing. Discriminating against members of the LGBT community has nothing to do with fear of safety. This is out of sheer hatred towards that community. Hatred that often the haters refuse to admit and vehemently deny. Such as when Bud Light decided to put a transgender on one of their products. Oh, I don't hate the LGBT community, I just don't want them on my beer. I don't want to pick one up in my car. I don't want my children reading about them in schools, but I don't hate them though. I don't want any facet of the LGBT community in my life, but I don't hate them. Yours truly, I believe that's bullshit. If you're starting to demand that they not appear in any facet of your life, that's hatred. Whether or not you want to call it that, that's hatred. You don't really want them. Look, it's fine for the LGBT community to exist. Don't put them anywhere where I can have to deal with them or work with them. But that's not hatred? Okay, fair enough. Moving on. Good. Because I'm sure those passengers wouldn't want to be subjected to a homophobic dick either. Now, you see they use the eggplant, but make no mistake about it for my internet savvy folks. That eggplant is a representation of a dick. And in my opinion, it does sound very homophobic. And most likely, if a member of the LGBT community knew the driver had this sentiment, yeah, he's right. They wouldn't want to be in the car with someone that does not like their actual community. Now, here's one I was not aware of, but I want to run it by you folks and ask you, do you see any validity to this in your market? Here's a comment. A lot of straight people put their pronouns on the app. What you are saying to them is going to make them sensitive. Now, they worded it a little different, but they continue on by saying, also, you're missing out because gay people tip. Now, I don't know if you're able to tell if the individuals you're picking up are members of the LGBT community, but if so, do you see bigger tips coming from members of the gay community? Now, in my market, there is a gay bar, and sometimes when I used to do night trips, I would pick up folks from that bar. Many of them already dressed in drag and things like that for some of the parties they would be involved in. I didn't see any tipping at all. And I'm a huge fan of house music, deep house, chill. A lot of the music that the gay community is playing, I really enjoy a lot of that shit. And I'd have it on in the car, they're dancing, or, hey, I like your music. I didn't see any increase in tips at all. In fact, I used to, a few years ago, have the same passenger getting in my vehicle that was regularly doing shows at the gay club in town. I'd pick him up during rush hour because he'd have to get there 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock on a Friday evening to change and things like that to get prepared for the performance. I picked this guy up probably, 15 times. Not one time did I ever get a tip. So the idea that the gay community tips, I personally have not seen any evidence of that, but I would ask you, do you see otherwise? And last but not least, this is what I mean when we talk about just simple hatred in your heart. Yeah, don't play their mental illness game. We are not forced to participate in this Marxist mind control hoax. Yikes, a Marxist mind control hoax. How could you even string all of that along in reference to a member of the LGBT community? Marxism? Have you ever went to a gay party, a drag queen show, and heard folks talking about Marxism? This is just hatred, folks. Suggesting that members of the LGBT community have mental illness. That's another one that often comes up. Been coming up since the beginning of time. In this country, obviously before things like gay marriage or simply being gay in itself was even acceptable, they used to believe that you could actually pray the gay out of folks or take them to a counselor or something of that nature and talk the gay out of them, which is what this individual is suggesting, that they have a mental illness. And you know what you do for mental illness. You take meds, you see a shrink, you see a doctor, and you try to work on it. This individual seems to believe that, being gay is something wrong with the mind, and perhaps maybe we can treat it and make it normal like you and I. Pure hatred in my humble opinion. But I wanted to run this comment by you because, as I stated earlier in the video, pay attention to what part of yourself, what facets of your life you expose. I have a side social media platform where I often talk politics. That doesn't do well in Rideshare, and I don't believe you should talk politics in any form of employment. Same thing with your pronouns. As you can see here, it brings out hatred. So you got to be cautious about your pronouns. It could be your religion. You know what they tell you. Don't mention certain topics. Well, Your sexuality is certainly one of them. If you don't have to go around promoting that you're a member of the LGBT society, understand that doing so could put you in an unsafe environment. Now, make no mistake about it, a lot of drivers have a picture of them and their wives up on the dashboard or on the speedometer or something. Nobody gives a damn. So it is unfair that if a man is married to another man, he has to live a lifestyle of don't ask, don't tell, when all the married straight men can happily show and display their wives and family. It is unfair. But I'm not coming to you from a standpoint of what's fair, what's right, and what's wrong. I'm just simply saying, understand, it's not always safe. So be cautious when you're out here as a driver in regards to what about yourself that you expose. Another example, wearing a turban if you're from a Middle Eastern country. Even 20 plus years after September 11th, there are places where being Muslim and wearing Muslim garb is not safe. Be cautious of this stuff, because as you see on a actual ride-sharing forum, folks are not afraid to openly admit they have hatred in their hearts. Have you seen anything like this as a driver? Any type of hatred perhaps coming from your passengers? Maybe you show up to pick someone up and you have a turban on, or you have some indication or trait of yourself, black, Hispanic, you name it, and you can tell maybe the passenger doesn't like it and they cancel the damn ride in front of your face. Have you seen any hate in ride sharing? If so, let your boy know in the comments. I'm quite curious. As always, subscribe to the channel, click the like button. Catch you in the next video.